What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. Welcome out, everyone, all of you great decoders around the world, wherever you may be, both male and female. My name is Logan, and this, of course, is Decode Your Reality. And today we're going to be breaking down and decoding the hurricane. Not just the hurricane that recently passed, but hurricane just as a noun. But this will include Hurricane Ian that just passed. And you know, my love and compassion seriously goes out to all those that were affected, are affected. I mean, this one was a gnarly storm, and many people really are paying the price for this sucker. It just makes me look at this scripted reality and, you know, why so many people were encouraged to move to Florida, the incentives, why people were pushed to go to Florida. And it just seemed that way. If you just really think about, if I am correct and we are living in a predestined scripted reality, why did so many people flock to Florida just for the past couple of years? The incentives, what was going on in the world stage. Florida became a major hotspot to move to. And does that have anything to do with a predestined scripted reality? And now many people on the west side of Florida, I mean, it's just a nightmare over there. So I got inspired to do this because I wanted to show all of you what I feel is going on behind the scenes that runs this reality. And of course, this is Mother Nature. Let's just leave out the fact, like some people, well, it's, you know, man screwing weather with the weather, and we're just guessing with that. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but there's no way to prove that if we go that route, that this storm was man-made. Okay, there's no way to prove that. But there is a way to prove that, you know, this stuff really happened. And a lot of people are paying the price. So let's jump into this, ladies and gentlemen. Hurricane Decoded. And I want to start off with this slide right here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to show you, you know, I'm going to ask you to use your logic and common sense, logic with discernment, and you tell me if I'm really trying to stretch things. Okay? But I'm going to start off with this right here, and to the left is the diagram of the pattern of this hurricane. This is typically the way they're drawn. starts off small and then it, gets to the top and it gets bigger and bigger. And this is kind of labeled as a catastrophe. And if you just study the word catastrophe, notice, it starts with the letter C-A, and it's just like the word calamity. And I'm going to be highlighting this scripture from the Old Testament, which is right here. Isaiah 45. And I've broken this down, but I want you to keep this in mind as we go through this presentation. Isaiah 45 verses 7. Doesn't matter what version you use, by the way. But this one right here, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. Another word for it is calamity. I, the Lord, do all these things. You can put the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh in there if you want to be a stickler and like, well, it's from the Old Testament. Whatever, doesn't matter, folks. It does not matter. But, keep in mind the English language, the most popular language spoken on the world stage, these two words start with the C-A. And, this word has trophy in it. Okay, now am I stretching this? Am I stretching this? Like, why would any word that is related to having a reward, like a trophy, be linked to something that is so catastrophic? Could there be any merit here? Could there be any connections? Well, I'm more interested in the shape. And you tell me if I'm stretching things as we go along right here. And bam! Here's the first piece of it all. I noticed this a few years back when there was another hurricane. I was looking at it. I just never made the video. But I saw the pattern. I saw the symbol in there. And I was like, there's something to this. I know there is. And I started to break down right here, what does it mean to have an apostrophe in a sentence, in a word? Well, it's going to have a different meaning, but notice that it has the word trophy in it. Apostrophe, same as catastrophe. So this trophy, what is that all about? What is that? There's a connection here. And then this was the humdinger, ladies and gentlemen. And this may be where, and again, you got to make the truth your own. This may be where you think, oh, Logan's stretching things. Well, I'm going to show you, that I don't think I am in the least bit. And this is the first letter of the 4-letter word of the Tetragrammaton, which spoke these words right here. This is right from the Tetragrammaton and the God of the Old Testament and New Testament. And is it this deity that controls and decided, hey, I'm going to throw in this Hurricane Ian and I'm going to freaking smash the west coast of Florida? And is this just all scripted at the times we're in? But does this shape to you kind of look like this? Which is a mirror of this. We could have flipped it. It just so happened it went from left to right, but it could have went the other way. But I think this is a fit. I absolutely think it's a fit. And if we go a little bit further and bring another layer in to support what I'm saying here. Remember, this is the 10th letter, matching up the word Satan, God of this world. So a lot of people believe, but is the God of this world the same God in the Bible that people pledge and pray to and worship? And so most of you that are in bed with that, you'd be like, no way, they can't. There's no way they're the same. Well, I'm going by this right here. This is I create calamity, I create evil. Well, it's a no-brainer right there. But see, the big takeaway, looking at your top of the screen, is this right here. When you say the word hurricane through numerology, Chaldean, it's a 30. And it matches the New Age name. I used to belong to this organization when I was a young kid. It's the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh through the New Age name Jehovah. Of course, the Y is interchangeable with the J. The J is the 10th letter of the English language. The Yod is the 10th letter of the Hebrew language. So it's the same thing. But are we just being role-played? I think so. The word demiurge equals 30. Santa Claus equals 30. Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth, that equals 30. And I think this is a match. And I have a decode coming out on this character right here. You do not want to miss this one. So, if you're watching this, it's already came out, check it out. But if you're watching this now, I haven't put it out yet, folks, you say 10. Folks, you do not want to miss this one. I'm going to bring stuff to the forefront, stuff you've never seen before, and I will make certain that the connections are undeniable. But this was kind of the starting point, and what I saw through this recent Hurricane Ian that just passed. Right? So let's keep going here. How about the original now, spelling of where this expression came from through Judaism? It's the I am that I am. And I mean, look at what it says. I will become what I choose to become. I will be what I will be. Well, folks, what do you think this is? I mean, is it so far-fetched? What is nature? What is nature? Well, people say it's God. Well, I'm okay, well then obviously it runs the hurricanes, runs the tornadoes, runs the lightning, runs the storms, runs the snowstorms, the blizzards. And why does all this stuff happen? I mean, if you were God and you knew this was going to happen, would you let it happen? I mean, if you had a kid in danger, would you help the kid out? If you have a son or a daughter and you knew they were going to get in trouble, what's the first thing you're going to do as a parent? You're going to correct it. You're going to run after and fix it. That's not what happens down here in this reality. So you just got to ask yourself, well, why is that? Why is that? What's the point of allowing all this suffering to happen in this reality? Well, that's, a really debatable conversation we can get into some other time, but look at what number it is through numerology, through the original spelling now, folks. It's a 30. So now we have a connection between the original numerology spelling of this from its original language, and it's tied to the New Age name. So this is undeniable in my book. And then are we being role played? And then if people, a lot of you think we have free will. And like I said, I'm not opposed to that, but it's like, okay, what kind of reaction will the God of this world get from you when it puts these things in your path? Like, let's just knock all the power out for a month and ruin people's lives and see what happens, see what kind of emotional reactions we get and what's feeding off those emotions. Is that how this reality works? I think so. We live in a battery. But nonetheless, this is undeniable here. Absolutely undeniable. And I mean, if you look at the I of a hurricane, I am that I am, I will become what I will become. There's the I right there. The I of the hurricane. I am that I am. I mean, folks, it's a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. And then 30, the 3 to me represents the 3D space, the 3D world that we live, the three-dimensional space that we live on. That 30. But there's the I. Okay, so we have connections that to me are undeniable, but again, you got to make the truth your own. Let's break this scripture down. I've already decoded this, but this is much more advanced. Please stick with me. Press pause if you have to press pause as I go through this. But if we break this scripture down, now I had to modify this because if you go to the Gematrinator website and you type this in, it's going to reduce the 45 down to a 9 and you'll get a different outcome. And I'm going to show you both ways, but I feel like you want to keep these, as a numerologist, I try to keep numbers in their authentic expressions. So 45 is a 45. It's going to give you a higher number, but it's going to lead to the same base number no matter what, which is a number 1. But what's interesting is the total for this is a 64. And then immediately you're wanting to find another layer to go deeper because we can't just stop at numerology. And this is the value of alchemy. We're made up a lot of these elements. They're essential for our livelihoods. And it's this element called gadolinium. And it's the GD element. Now, what's really interesting about this is in Judaism, a lot of them write the word God without the O. They put the G-D. And I mean, there it is right there. This is undeniable again. And then when you go to the English, one of the spellings, it's either YHVH or YHWH. It's going to bring it from a 63 to a 64, but numbers encroach. But there's the connection, the 64. So again, undeniable. And then we bring in the tarot to get the picture of like, what does this deity look like? What does God look like? If this is what we think it is. Well, it's the King of Swords, which is the king that runs the earth. Okay? It's the king that runs the earth because it's the King of Spades. And I'm going to get into that. But remember that this element right here, having 64 protons, is also tied to the checkerboard floor because on a chessboard, there's 64 squares. And then through science and our bodies, we have 64 possible codons of our DNA, which is why I have the double helix there. So you can see, it's like you start to connect all these things and it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. What's running this reality? Are we being micromanaged? Are we being role played? Okay, so let's just keep going with this. And are we just in the Truman Show? I've broken down this twice, Truman Show 1 and 2. Thanks everybody for the support on that. This is one of my biggest the Truman Show Decoded. But you'll notice that the atomic mass of gadolinium is 157. And then the Truman Show is just a step down, the 57. Which is going to reduce down to the number 3, and then you're going to go back to the 30 again, and you have that 3, pi 3.14. So you just got to know what you're looking for. And this is the Jesus Christ character. Make no mistake about it. I mean, Truman is a 22, Michael is a 22, Dragon is a 22. Michael fought the dragon. That's your spirit fighting your ego. That's what this whole reality is based upon. You're living in a movie, it's theater. And to me, it's a simulation and mankind's an experiment. I know that sound may really be horrific for some of you. And, again, you got to make the truth your own, but these are the layers that I go down, and these are the conclusions that I've come to. The only logical explanations for what I see on the world stage. So then we get into the card that really matches the King of Swords, which is the King of Spades. Now, these cards came first, but there isn't a 64th card in the deck, so we had to start with the tarot. But nevertheless, it's the King of Spades. Now, this card right here, ladies and gentlemen, I want to just take you, if you've been paying attention to my videos and these cards and how important they are, 52 cards matching to 52 weeks. Here is the King of Spades. And this card is immovable. It's one of the 3 cards that doesn't move. Okay, and it's just the King of Spades, and the only birthday that the King of Spades has is January 1st. So if you're a January 1st baby, you're in very rare company because it is the only birthday that has the King of Spades. A lot of these other cards, they'll share multiple birthdays. And of course, January 1st is written 1/1. You can mirror it, but it's always going to be that 1.1 or 11. Okay, so there's going to be power in that. So this 52nd card, the King of Spades, which is, going back here again, this right here, this King of Spades sits in what's called the crown line, representing the sun, the moon, and earth. And then running vertically, this King of Spades sits right in the Saturn line. It runs in the Saturn line vertically. And it always will. It doesn't move. So these cards and this system says that Saturn is the ruler of this earth through this methodology. And it's tied in alchemy to this element called tellurium. And it comes from the Latin word tellus, which means earth, which is why they got the round earth there. Forget about the shape. That's irrelevant. It means earth, the earth that we live on. So it's the king of the earth. And then it is a prime number, 127, 31st prime number. And then going back to the King of Swords, which came after the King of Spades, it's the 64th card, and it's Isaiah 45 verses 7. And this gadolinium, the GD element, here's the icon that the Royal Society of Chemistry uses, and here's the cosmic joke. This is it says that gadolinium was used in television screens. Well, the dead giveaway is you're on television. Truman Show. You're live in front of the whole world. Truman Show. You are Truman. I am Truman. And the Truman Show is the Titans. If you want to get into theology and the fallen angels, you are all that. We're all that, experiencing life. And so these are connected. Obviously, you can see how heavily connected, and it's all from this scripture that says, I make peace and create calamity/evil, which I feel like ran that hurricane that just came about. One of the most deadliest ever. And so I started to, get into some, if you haven't been following the decoder Ethan Rucker, he's big in asking questions. I have a series called What? I only got one video out on that. But Ethan, the great decoder, he likes to ask questions. And I feel like there's merit to this. I don't think it's absolute because this can be manipulated, but I just want to show you what possibly could be tied to the king of the earth. So who is the king of spades is the question. So the king of spades, who is the king of the earth, which is a card solely ruled by Saturn. It's 86. And we then go to alchemy and we get this element called radon. Now this element's really interesting because of the wording that it goes by, the noun radon, ra-don. And it connects directly to Lucifer. Let me just zoom in here. This scripture, the only scripture in the Old Testament, again, in the book of Isaiah, which is where this one, the Isaiah came from, it says that Lucifer is the son of the morning. Another word for morning is dawn. Ra-dawn. Don Juan, Radon. And you'll notice it's a 222. A 222. And this is the icon used for radon. Radiation. What weakens the nations? Radiation. Where does the radiation come from? Well, we can't exclude the sun. And, and since Lucifer is the son of the morning, and what rises in the morning? Well, it's the sun. It's called the dawn. Once that sun appears, the very first thing in the morning, that's called dawn. So there's a tie-in directly from Lucifer being the sun. Now, the sun has a part in hurricanes. It has to. But where's the connection with Saturn? That's the big question. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is some advanced decoding. The first time, I think I've shown this before, but I want to show all of you great decoders what else you can do with these elements on the periodic table. And if you start messing around with this, you're going to see this is not just some, one-hit wonder. This is something you can do with all these elements. You just got to know where to connect. But this isotope found from Isaiah 45 verses 7, which is tied to the hurricane, I feel, is isotope 158. Science is going to round up in 157. So that's why these numbers are going to encroach, as I often say. So this is isotope 158. So if you take the protons of gadolinium and you add it to the actual atomic mass, you're going to get 222. That's what 64 plus 158 equals. 222. And if you just add 64 to 157, it's just going to be 221, and you'll still find that to be an isotope of radon. Numbers encroach. But how about that? The 64th card tied to the 64th element, when you add up the protons with the atomic mass, it adds up to the 222, which is radon, which I feel is Lucifer, tied to that. And then it's also tied to the 52nd card called the King of Spades. Who is the King of Spades? So let's keep going. How about the King of Swords now? The King of Swords. Who is the King of Swords? We get the 87. We get a number up from the 86. Again, these numbers are going to bleed. You're going to get into the 88 and radium, the element Ra. Well, it's this element right here from France called francium. And the dead giveaway. The dead giveaway is that 223. You put that in the mirror, you're going to get the 322. And bam! Voila. We have that organization right there. I got a decode coming out on this one, October 4th. If you're watching this now, just in a few days. But folks, this one, I'm going to show you how this organization is being used. They don't get a hall pass. I'm going to show you that. That's not being detrimental, not being an ass towards any. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this reality that we're living in is a scripted one. I'm going to show you how, that is the case for this organization. But here's the mirror of that in the primes. 223 is the 48th prime number, tied to Lucifer again. But I mean, folks, this is what we're looking at right here. the king of the earth is Lucifer, the light bringer, tied to that. And it's tied to Saturn, which is Satan, which is the tetragrammaton. I'm going to keep showing you this, ladies and gentlemen. The connections are solid. The connections are solid. So make sure you check this one out coming up. But what if we reduce down, as it will when you go type it into the Gematrinator calculator? I'm using Derek's website, gematrinator.com. But if you type in, we did the full now, but if you just keep it where it's going to reduce it down to the 9, it's going to make that number reduce down. So instead of the 64, it's going to give us the 28. And the 28 is tied to Lucifer, folks. Okay, the light bringer. What does light do? What is light tied to? Where does the light come from? And then this element right here, one of them has the 28 tied to it. I'm going to show you the other one in a second. Silicon, and the tech capital of the world. The technology capital of the world is called Silicon Valley in Northern California, the crown of the United States. If you lay chakras across, California's the crown. Silicon Valley. And silicon, this element, if you watch My Two Thieves, this element represents the future, because that's what technology represents, the future. Which, of course, if you look at it through the analogy, again, what weakens the nations? Technology. It's a contradiction, but it still fits into that whole example. And so it's the time god. What is time ruled by in the astrology? And Saturn, Chronos. So is Chronos Lucifer? And is the tetragrammaton just Saturn, aka Chronos? I say yes, without any doubts. And it's tied to Lucifer. Right there. You can't miss this now, okay? You can't miss this now, but keeping going here, here's the other element with the 28. And this one has the 28 protons. Silicon has the 28 as its atomic mass. But nickel is called devil's copper. Doesn't get any more apparent than that. And then, the 28 matching the word Lucifer, the word architect equals 28. 28 being the second perfect number in mathematics, 2 representing duality. And then, the dead giveaway. So is Lucifer, the light bringer, ruling this reality? Is that the little voice in your head? Does it have any say in that? And then what's its tie to Saturn and the tetragrammaton? Is Lucifer just the tetragrammaton? And then where does the Christ fit in? See, I say Truman is the Christ. And I say that we're just living out the Jesus Christ superstar life, but this is kind of a dead giveaway right there. Nickel. Nickel is, as a 5-cent piece. 5 in astrology is Leo the lion. Leo the lion's ruled by the sun. So it's going to go back to the sun, okay? The sun has such a big say in this reality. The sun and moon, I say, are it's the Ark of the Covenant, and that's what runs this reality. But what's really interesting now is getting into some Greek mythology and this Pandora's box. The Pandora's box. Because, you see, Isaiah is the book, but it's this chapter 45 is the big giveaway here, and it's a match to the words Pandora's box. The word fallen angels equals 45. And there's the Pandora's box and the whole story of that Pandora's box, the shitstorm that gets opened up, and it's through Prometheus and Epimetheus. And, if you've been watching, paying attention, Lucifer is Prometheus. And it's also tied to Jesus Christ. 61 is Promethium, 61 is the 18th prime number, Jesus is 18. But nonetheless, the word box is 14, Satan is 14. Pandora's box, Satan's box. Pandora is Satan. What's the Pandora? And of course, this was supposedly delivered by Zeus, the king of the gods. So we can't leave Zeus out, which is Jupiter. And I feel Jupiter and Saturn are the father-son duo that have the most say in this reality. It's kind of how I see it through these examples. But now we get into the Hebrew. So we've covered the English rendition of Isaiah 45 verses 7, tied to the hurricane, tied to the Yod and the I am that I am, and now Lucifer. And here's the 45 verses 7, where it originally came from through the Old Testament and through Hebrew. And again, I had to modify this because this is going to reduce down to the 9, but here's the fullest expression 75. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil, calamity, whatever. I, the Lord, do all these things. And if you want to replace Lord with the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, that's great. So who is the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh? Well, it's tied to Lucifer. Folks, it's tied again to Lucifer, the light bringer. And, this element here, which I've shown, check out my speed of light decoded. It broke down all the aspects of Lucifer being tied to the speed of light. This element right here is called rhenium. Of course, the word rhenium through numerology is 28, tied to Lucifer. It's a dead giveaway, but here's the original now. Again, you want to go back to the original spellings of these words. Here is the original spelling of where it came from, Isaiah 14, verses 12. It's hell. If you had the vowels in there, it would be pronounced Halel, but it's hell, man. And that's the comic joke. You're living in hell. What runs hell? Lucifer does. The light bringer. Light runs hell. Without the light, there's no animation. There's no moving pictures. And it's a 75. This is a dead giveaway, folks. So there's the cat out of the bag. If you want to know who the God of the Bible is, and you want to know who the Tetragrammaton is and the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh is, there's your answer right there. Bam! And it's tied to light. And it's tied to Saturn. Saturn is Satan. Father time. Over time you will sin. Over time you will die. That's the devil, man, coming to get you, the Grim Reaper. Kind of no-brainers. And then, the biggest takeaway of them all on this element is right here. The weight or atomic mass of rhenium, 186. The speed of light is approximately 186,000 miles per second in a vacuum. If you put it into kilometers, it'll be 300. There's that, and it'll be the 30 in there. Okay, so Lucifer, known as the light bringer, it's a no-brainer. I mean, look at right here. I form the light. Light bringer. Well, if you shut the lights off, what happens? Darkness happens. So these examples are no-brainers now, folks. The interpretation. When you connect it here, not just listening to the pastor on Sunday morning, because they're just going to give you their interpretation of what they think the words mean. But when you bring in alchemy and numerology, you can get a more clear path to get the proper interpretation. Science and physics and astrology, and this is undeniable here. So what forms the light? The light bringer. What creates darkness? Turn off the lights, and you're going to get darkness. Okay, you're going to get darkness. And so, when we bring it into more mathematics to get some more support on what I'm showing here, is the 75 appears in the string of pi, which is what we all make up. Earth is pi. It occupies digit 47 and 48, and there's the connection to what the Greeks called the God of the Bible, the Tetragrammaton. So this is undeniable here, folks. If you follow my methodology. Now, if you want to just, deny what I'm showing you, well, again, you got to make the truth your own. I'm not forcing anything. I'm just the tour guide here, showing you how this reality works, showing you how this amusement park works. I'm not going to tell you what rides to get on. Now, if you take the 47 and you add it to the 48, because this occupies 2 digits, you're going to get this number right here, 95. And now you get into the spelling through alchemy, which I've shown many, 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 many times now. The I am. I just showed it in my Life is But a Dream. We're living in a dream. It's not real. We're living in a movie. It's not real. It's real to us, but it's like when you watch a movie, is it real? No. But it's real. There's real people there acting out, but it's acting. That's exactly what we're all doing here, and we're being used, folks. I know that may sound horrific, but I got so much support to show this over and over and over again. Can we break free from that? I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully. But what if you can't? Well, then the best thing to do is to figure out what your code and script is. Most people don't know what theirs is. So they're just running around with a chicken with their head cut off. But it's the I am. Remember the eye of the hurricane, the I am? And if you add these up, you're going to get 3, 6, 9. 126 plus 243. 3, 6, 9. The keys to the universe. Yeah, well, the I am is the keys that's tied to light. Electromagnetism. And it goes back right again here. I am that I am. The I am. If this is true for you, the most popular spell book on the world stage, if this is absolute for you, I'm not saying it is. Again, you got to make the truth your own, but this has merit because it's the most popular book on the world stage, tied to the collective. Well, that 75 through mathematics links to the 95, and it's the I am. And then the I am is right there through its original expression being that 30, and then the 30 being tied to the word hurricane and the word Jehovah, the New Age name. And these shapes they look eerily similar to this shape. And why did I find, I found this, like I said, a couple of years ago, but I didn't do a decode on it, but I just felt compelled to do it now. But folks, this to me is undeniable. This shape is a hell of a lot like the apostrophe, and this is a catastrophe, and it's got the word trophy in it. See, folks, we're being used for our energetic gold, which is our currency, which is our emotional reactions, mainly in this reality. You know how much chaos is going on the western side of Florida right now? A lot of people, man, going through some serious hard times. Who gets that energy? Something gets that energy, ladies and gentlemen, and we live inside of a battery. We feed the battery, feed the wolf. You can't help it. You just gotta, you react to what happens on the world stage. But this to me right here is undeniable with the 30 and the word hurricane and what just happened. And right here, this is undeniable. This is what created the hurricane. Why did it create it? That's the big question. Why did it let it happen? People died. People lost their lives. Innocent people. Why is this stuff being allowed to happen? Again, you got to be the judge of that. And then this is my last slide here, ladies and gentlemen. This was kind of icing on the cake here for this. Absolutely, like this. Again, I found this. Why did I find it? I mean, I'm going to zoom in. What do you see right there, ladies and gentlemen? What's the freeway that's running right through that storm where it made landfall in Fort Myers, that area? It's Highway 75. Highway 75 is a match to the scripture that says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. 75. Now, is that stretching anything? I don't think so. I don't think so in the least bit. I found it now. I saw it now. That's all that matters. This is absolute in my book, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to know what created this storm, well, you can link it to all the things I've been showing you. Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, the God of the Bible, Lucifer, the light bringer, the devil, Satan, all one and the same, running this place called Pandora's box. And that's what happens when you live down here in Pandora's box. Shitstorms happen. Hurricanes, tornadoes, people lose their lives, you get murdered, killed. It's all part of the process. It's death and regeneration down here, creating energetic exchanges. So something feeding off that energy. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what did you see? What did you see during this presentation? Keep your comments coming. Just keep them cordial again. Just be nice. You don't have to agree with everything, but just, I'll delete any kind of toxic comments. No problems telling all of you that. To keep it, at least neutral. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to hear what you saw. And as I often say, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you later.